Slightly late, but nevertheless here. It's Rail Natter, everyone. Hi, sorry about the tardiness. Some light adjustments being needed to be made to the old technology. Hello, yes, the usual chat. We are here to talk about a little town called Fort William that I know and love very dearly, but it's a bit of a problem. And we're going to explain why momentarily, in a bit of detail. I mean, talking about transport, but also touching on a few other bits and pieces. Of course, as you would expect. A reminder, this podcast can only exist thanks to the support of you, dear Patreon people, especially the £5 and above folks. And there will be a very pertinent, relevant bonus episode tonight, which you get one of a week, looking at the master plan that we will touch on momentarily. But without further ado, everyone, welcome to tonight's Rail Natter. And as the InCity 225 fades away, it only remains for me to... Actually, it doesn't remain for me to say anything. What I do want to say is Fort William's stunning. This is a view from not Fort William, from across Loch Linnhe, looking out with Ben Nevis in clear skies in the 3 days a year that happens. Ben Nevis, by the way, meaning like mountain of the heavens and the clouds, essentially referred to the fact that it's always hidden in the cloud. And having gone up Ben Nevis probably 40 times, maybe, because I used to take Germans up there, I can confirm that is true. Here, however, is a view of Fort William from across the bay, and from a distance, it's a very fetchingly located little town. However, there are problems. And to explain these problems, the problems with Fort William, here, by the way, is let's just point out where Fort William is. Fort William is here. There it is in the middle. You can see highlighting Fort William there in red. Fort William is a bit of a pinch point. It's a pinch point because of the road network in Scotland. It's a thing that people don't necessarily grasp down in England, where there are very few places where this is true. But in Scotland, sizable parts of Scotland have only one road connecting one place to another place. And when I say only one road, I mean literally only one road. I don't mean like one main road and there's a load of back roads. I mean, no, literally one road. As a result of that, Fort William feeds pretty much everything on this part of the country going northwards, or rather the geography of the fjord-like west coast of Scotland feeds everything through Fort William going upwards in this direction, and everything going south, and indeed wanting to go east, goes this direction down through Fort William. So there is you can see the sizable part of the country that goes through Fort William. This is a challenge. That photograph, by the way, was taken by me earlier. This one. That's my photograph from quite a few years ago. Anyway, so the challenge, that is a challenge, right? This is a problem. And all of it ends up going through... Well, actually, this isn't necessarily the problem, although it substantially is. This is just little Fort William. And here's the A82, as you can see here. In this location, dual carriageway, completely pointlessly. Dual carriageways are not a good idea, and this is one of the perfect examples of why a dual carriageway is a bad idea. And this is partly why I wanted to do this episode, is because, given what we were talking about last week and the idea that dual carriageways don't solve anything, here is the perfect microcosm example of how dual carriageways work when they don't solve congestion, and why that is. Because, we'll talk about it in a second. But... one more lane bypass, yeah, quite. So, hello everyone. We've got to the point where, so that news story earlier about this was about the fact that I just said, I referred to the news article, but that news story earlier is that Fort William is having a multimodal transport study to look at solving traffic through Fort William. This is basically a kind of refers back to the strategic region, the Scottish transport plan, the strategic transport planning document for projects in Scotland, the second one, and one of the key recommendations for the Fort William area was the development of an integrated transport plan to address the ongoing range of issues and concerns with traffic and transport in and through the town. And it's saying that it's hoped that this work will be commissioned sometime in 2024. Well, alas, it's ended up being 2025 and off a crack. But it's going, it's happening, it's moving forwards. So this being progressed, which is good. Yes, we like that. We're happy about that. So yeah, plan launched to tackle Fort William congestion problems. Fine, that's the news article. And this comes from, well, there's some plans afoot already. What's being called FW 2040, the overall master plan for Fort William and Loch Harbour. Well, there's a lot more to it, but there are lots of projects. It can be kind of flattened down into a series of outputs. And this is where I get worried about the study, because this study is quite clear that it is should be, let's see, an integrated transport plan, which implies multimodal. However, things worry me. And one of the things that worries me is the sketches on this PDF that you can go onto the website and download that describes some of the planning that's going on in and around Fort William. And you'll see, in fact, let's focus in on this bit. You'll see down here, there's this black dashed line here that's going like this. That, and indeed this here, is the alignment of a potential bypass. Oh dear. Oh dear. So, yeah, this is what worries me, because if the logic is, oh, we're gonna give it an old extra road, we're gonna build an extra road, and that will solve the problems. No, it will not do that. And this, yeah, so this comes back to lots of things we've talked about, and the fun we're going to have is in a minute we're going to have look at Fort William, get Google Earth up, and have a kind of an understanding of the geography and the challenges. But I worry that the fact that this is marked out as being we're interested in / want this is prejudice. It gives. Remember, in previous episodes we've done where we've discovered that consultancies generally just give the client what they want to hear. They rarely propose something bold or new. They usually just say what the client has already said they'd like to see delivered. And politically, that always ends up roads. Mr. Guy Snails is saying multimodal, vans and lorries, roads for cars, and ferries for cars. Yes. So, gateway to the Highlands. Yeah, lots of love coming in for Fort William. Yeah, but I've said the Scottish Town's nightmare. Well, we're going to explain why it's a nightmare. So, you can sort of see the challenges, or sort of see why I'm worried, rather, about what that multimodal study might say. So let's have a look. Let's get the old Google Earth up and have a proper look, shall we? So let's see. So if I zoom out, so this is Fort William. Say hello to Fort William, and this is the town. So the A82 is coming up from. So let's zoom right. Let's zoom right out. So up Loch Linney. You've either come from Glasgow, you're coming up from there, or you've come from Oban around the coast here. You meet those two roads meet in Ballachulish. They go over the very fine Ballachulish Bridge, which is not seen because this is old version Google Earth. It's not got the nice 3D here. You go along here. There's the Corran Ferry for other purposes. You whiz along the coast, and you find yourself arriving into Fort William. Two standard sort of 2-lane A road, the A82 here. Then you keep going, and you reach. I'll tell you what I should have said. Is it was one of the things that was this dual carriageway occupied the space of. Is actually I'll tell you in a second, because it's worth explaining that point, because while I waffle in order to copy and paste this thing that I wanted to copy and paste and forgot to copy paste. There we go. There we go. And marvelous. So I wanted to show you that. Congestion is a serious problem through here, and well, you can kind of imagine why, right? Like you can see why congestion becomes a problem with severe amounts of serious traffic coming through. So I'm going to very quickly, in fact, just to remind you, like the severe traffic, this gets congested all the time. Like Fort William, serious congestion point, partly because of those flows of traffic. Mouse pointer is not on. Very, very good point. I can resolve that right now with pressing this button here. No face. In fact, so you know what? Let's get this face up. Hello, I'm here, and you can now see my cursor. So marvelous. So Google you come up here, A82, and you end up with this thing. It breaks into this weird dual carriageway, and you get this stretch of dual carriageway here that runs up along here, runs up to here, and then smooshes down into just a regular single track road, single carriageway road. Now, let me tell you about what happens when you do that to dual carriageway. By the way, notice also middle road here, middle street. I can't remember exactly. Just running, just adding an additional set of lanes. So that's 6 lanes of vehicle here, driving through and then coming up and resulting in a couple of things, including all the shops have the backs of the shops out to the coast to this fantastic asset that you saw. Just the picture I showed you earlier, this incredible asset. By the way, there's Ben Nevis sat up here looking with the zigzag pass on the way to the top. This incredible asset, and yet there's a dual carriageway all the way along. This is running along here, and of course, this gets hyper congested. Why does it get hyper congested? Because what you've done is 2 queues have to then filter back into 1 queue. So all the traffic congests here at one end and here at the other end, as the 1-lane traffic goes up to 2 lanes and then drops down, filters back into 1 lane. So dual carriageway here, what it's doing is, this is exactly what happens on a larger scale when you add a dual carriageway without tackling the source of the congestion, which is, by the way, cars. So you create, the traffic can move a bit faster from here to here, maybe, although most of the time it doesn't. But then actually it doesn't, because it just backs up all the way back along from the fact that it has to return back to and filter into the existing road network. So, we're useless, bad, hopeless. This is the road, by the way, that disappears off up into, it's off onto nothing. It's a fun little back lane. It's a delight to cycle, by the way. And this gets you all the way back into, look at this, into the back of beyond. Just dreams of these gorgeous roads that you can have tremendous fun in. Anyway, I digress. Scotland, it's a stunning place. Because I'm of course teasing you with the Scottish town is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. That doesn't mean it's not brilliant. There's Fort William. So this is causing a number of problems. The congestion is causing a number of problems. It's obviously throttling the Scottish economy. It's throttling the fact there is actually quite a lot of heavy industry in and around Fort William, and that the fact that traffic is seized as a constraint. It's constraint on emergency services. The emergency services trying to get through here, and critically, those wonderful buses that we need that are the lifeblood of a community like this. The buses cannot run properly because they cannot get through the congestion, the regular congestion that blocks up the A82 here. Now, how do we resolve this? So, we've talked about the fact that this causes severe congestion. Also, by the way, the dual carriageway here being built, actually, this is the new railway station being built, but actually the railway where that dual carriageway is because the railway used to be there. They pulled the railway back so they could build this pointless dual carriageway. It's classic. Now, this was the early 70s. I think 1974 is when the new station opened. This is, it's the mid-70s. So this is when the bypass was put in. It's classic 70s brain of, if as much dual carriageway as we can create is good, right? Knowing what we know now, and frankly, what they knew then, that's not true. Now, this is where we have to think, and let's go half face again. This is where we have to think. We've done this before. We did episode, episode 248, where we talked about the Scottish Railway Map episode, and we talked about what the Scottish Railway Map needs to look like. We talked about this. We talked about the things that we could do to resolve the regional railway network, and the A82 gets congested. We looked at the map. We saw that it's that filtering of traffic in and back out, northwards, southwards. So what you do is, you've got the railway. So you've got the railway line running here to Oban. So this is the railway line running to Oban. There we go. You've got the railway line running up through past Loch Tree down to Fort Williams. There's Fort William here. So if you wanted to go, what you wanted then, this is why it's so important to think about the railway network as part of the overall strategic transport system, not as here's where the railways are. So if you've got you've got the Skye traffic from Kyle and from Mallig here, and this goes up through and through here. And of course, you've got Inverness up here, so you've got the Inverness to Fort William traffic. So you've got all this flow of traffic coming this way. You're never going to build a railway back along here, or it didn't exist for most of its way, but you can certainly improve the buses and make sure the buses are timetabled and integrated into that coastal route, so that you can provide strategic alternatives to get rail to bring vehicles. So it gets particularly congested at peak time in summer. How do you resolve that? Well, the local traffic isn't necessarily going to disappear, although there are plans, which we'll talk about momentarily, to improve the local active travel options to reduce some of that urban traffic, and in a way reduce the reliance on car and the impact of congestion on local people. But a lot of the congestion comes from long distance traffic. Tourists, a lot of it is tourists. Now, what you can do is take a tremendous bite out of that tourist market by understanding what the market looks like and facilitating it by rail, by a massive, well-integrated transport push into rail. The challenge with this is regional investment, solving what is ostensibly a local problem, even though, as we all know, it's a local plan, but actually it's a regional problem. So that it's the plan got the scope to really look at this. And of course, no one sensible in government right now is going to be proposing, well, no one not sensible. All the people who claim to be sensible aren't going to be proposing a 53-mile railway from Inverness to Fort William, even though, as all of us know, it's a very good idea. So if you got this rail network as it was, this, by the way, heading down to Glasgow, of course, if you got the railway network looking like this would allow you to take some of that, potentially take some of that long-distance traffic, but to make it really work, what you would then need to do is also make investment in the existing stations to enhance the ability for people to decide they can take the train to their little holiday home up a glen somewhere. So that means potentially providing more local car hire capacity or local bus services to enable more flexibility for that sort of travel. Also incentives, incentivizing that by reducing the cost of rail further to encourage those peak time travelers, as in tourist peak time, not daily peak time travelers, to choose railways. Things like integrated packages of better Rail Rover tickets that encourage people and people when they land at the airport and they're heading towards car hire. Well, firstly, as a government strategic thing, you say no more car hire at airports or vastly reduce car hire at airports. But also you go, we will integrate that. You will get a ticket that allows you to go from the airport to anywhere you like in Scotland on the train, and that is the way to do that. And also thinking more about accommodation. There is a massive accommodation shortage across Scotland for tourism. And building that next to railway stations and focusing on railway stations so that is the focus, so that people can do their bulk journeys through Fort William by rail, not by road, is really, really critical. So yeah, it's really important that the view is taken strategically, despite the fact this is a local plan. So some challenges there, but there is a plan that I like. That we're going to be looking at in detail in the bonus episode. But this is the Fort William Town Centre Master Plan as part of FW 2040. This is looking at the core of the town and understanding how to resolve it and what can be done to resolve it. And there's a few things in here. There's a whole load of stuff that they're pointing out that they want to do. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in terms of development, which I think is a good idea. So developing, although too much of it's car park, developing the old kind of harbour side space that's now a car park, developing into a pier, a marina, and ideally more green space than car park, frankly. Some leisure-led attractor and water sports centres, so that's going in there. There's a new leisure centre going up at the far end, up near the Morrisons. They're pulling some of the car parking out, so there's going to be a new multi-storey car park, which is quite sensible. A key thing that they've talked about, all the blue areas here, are bringing more homes into the town centre, which is really key. Increasing the density of the town centre is what gives it life. That's what creates life and makes it a viable option for people to stay, families to stay living in the area. And a really key thing that I like is the new Nevis Centre and Library. All sorts of stuff. We'll go into that in the bonus episode. But lots of proposals. But the key one is this on page 68. The reduction of the dual carriageway section of the A82 along the edge of Loch Linney to a single lane in either direction between the two roundabouts, commensurate with the remainder of the road, both north and south of the town centre. This is good. This will resolve quite a lot of the congestion through the town, believe it or not. Getting rid of the dual carriageway will resolve congestion. So there is a consultation out for this, I think, at the moment, or there will be soon. Go and agree with this. If you're local, go and agree with this. Also getting rid of sizable chunks of Middle Street as well. So Middle Street is that weird little road that just completely pointless road. The other thing they'll be doing is avenuing it, so making it not a road that is impenetrable, but actually splitting it up with lots and lots of crossings to make sure that it's permeable, and generally reducing the speed of vehicles through there, which is another thing that will help with congestion. If you create this as a Bottleneck, you will get traffic evaporation by the fact that, so people who really don't need to make that journey will stop doing it. And actually, this is one of the things, if you fix congestion by building a bypass, all you do is potentially draw more traffic into the area and clog that up. That's why it's so key that the bypasses aren't a good idea. It's better to just do this avenuization, if you like, further out into Fort William. But getting rid of the dual carriageway will be a major part of solving this problem. A major part, which is cool. And yeah, as I say, we are going to be going through the Fort William Town Centre Master Plan in some detail for the bonus episode. So, yeah, a look at the Fort William Town Centre Master Plan. That's the bonus tonight. The link hasn't gone up yet because I'm disorganised, but it will be going up very soon. So yes. Now, before we disappear and do that, I just want to bring up Fort William again and just remind people kind of the geography. So we've got the station here. There's the station coming through. The old railway used to whiz around and end up. The station was down here somewhere, long flattened. It was a nice station actually. It's silly that we got rid of it. But the road network is talking about the thing that makes me worried about the road proposals. Well, a variety of things, but the fact that it will whiz out and use up, valuable. This is quite flat down here, and I would say valuable development space for housing, industry, things of this nature. If you're going to build a road, do it to service the residential areas, but do not do so with a bypass. So bringing it in and basically like, we're going to bring it in as a bypass through here, which I don't know what this is solving. And then most painfully is bringing it around this coastline here. So bringing it in around the coast. Let me just get this right. Yeah, that is right. So bring it round here. Here, so this is what they imagined where the bypass would go, which is why you can see that it's sort of safeguarded. Bring it round here and obliterating yet more connected nature. The connections of water to where people live is really important, and yet they're talking about getting rid of, obliterating it. So and then bringing the bypass round and then cutting through here and back round. So this, I'm sorry, I just cannot. Also, by the way, with a new bridge, new connections from the bypass here, coming up along here, round and up through this safeguarded area, and then round the back to connect up to the road here for more bypass action. So just roads galore. Don't do this. Don't do this. There's so much potential development space and things you could be doing that don't involve massive amounts of. I think there's like a school I think there's schools here now, isn't it? Or have I? Oh no, the school's there. Anyway, there's some development going on. Anyway, yeah, don't do that. Don't build these roads. These aren't good. There elements of this are floodplain, yes, but not. This bit's not really floodplain. This bit, no. I've not known this bit to flood. This is quite high up. It's like it jumps up a bit. The elevation's a bit higher here, so I don't think this is. But the other thing, of course, is the southern end is people saying, if you just bypass the whole lot. Cow Hill, this is Cow Hill here, about 300 metres tall, sits above Fort William gloriously, is somewhat in the way. It's got a nice aspect. In all directions, down to Corran and then out across to Corpach and then along to Speen Bridge. It's got a nice aspect, down along the glen and also back to, there's Ben Nevis again doing his thing in the background. Very nice. Is in the way if you wanted to bypass the whole lot, which has been discussed before by maniacs and Roder's Digest types. So, Fort William, it's a challenge, but it's one that we absolutely can and should rise to. As I was saying, we will be going through the master plan, which is a bit of a delight in the bonus episode, which you can get by going to patreon.com/GarethDennis and subscribing at the £5 and above tier. Doing so gets you the weekly bonus Rail Natter short. Tonight's will be as short as possible, but I'm not making any promises if we're going to do a whole page turn. It gets you lots of fun other stuff, including the free How the Roads Will Fix the Future audiobook read by me, among many other delightful things, and sneak peeks and pictures and things of this nature. Now, one of the things that I want to pick up is a bit of news. Actually, we're going to do some news, which round at the back we have items. Thank you, Nova, for saying that word repeatedly in various podcasts recently and making me have that word in my head. We have items. something that I really wanted to talk about is Brightline. It's a recurring theme on the episode we did with Tom Payne talking about replacing pointless flights with trains. Brightline, and we refer to the fact that Brightline is a genuine killer, and really the numbers are shocking, frankly. And the Miami Herald has done a genuinely good read, and I'll shout that piece out later. A genuinely good read, a really nice long read with lots of detailed chats with, interviews with victims' families and friends, and lots of data to understand why this is like this and what the problem is. The problem, for anyone who's not familiar, Brightline is the 125 mile an hour-ish service that runs down the east coast of Miami. Florida, forgive me, east coast of Florida to Miami from like Fort Lauderdale and down. It goes down. There's a map in a minute. And it has killed in the last, since, is it 6-7 years, it's killed 182 people, I believe. 182 people. And almost all those are at level crossings, of which there are countless level crossings on this line. And because the line runs marginally below 125 miles an hour, the federal authorities and the standards stipulate that they can run without getting rid of those level crossings. But a lot of the line runs with no fences. Its level crossings are not, well designed at all, and the company has repeatedly said, this is not our problem. But the thing is, the purpose of a system is what it does. I'm going to do a little trigger warning that there's some pictures of crash imagery coming up. So, rail crashes and collisions with cars, because this is what the system does. The system demolishes cars and kills huge numbers of people. The numbers are staggering. The rate of death on this railway line is absolutely frightening. It is staggering. And despite the repeated refrains and settlements in and out of court by Brightline, they keep saying, well, this isn't our problem. This isn't, this is a result of, these are all suicides, or, these are people who weren't paying attention. It's not our fault that these crashes are happening. But I would push back pretty vigorously on that. That's a bit like victim blaming drunk passengers who fall down between the platform and the train, which has happened plenty, or people have had that kind of blame language used a lot. But I would argue, no, those are people and they are using the system, or they're adjacent to it. And as a system, the railway, in this case Brightline and its infrastructure, has a responsibility to its neighbours to not kill them at a frightening rate. And if we have a look at the death rate here, so the death rate for Brightline is the highest death rate on any passenger service in the US. It has a death rate of nearly 25 passengers per 100 million miles. No, per million miles, I think. Actually, it's 100 million. I think it might be 100 million. And this is, it is 100 million. 25 deaths per 100 million miles is absolutely staggering. Absolutely staggering. 163 deaths is the data they had for this. So actually, this number is actually even higher now. For reference, by the way, even you go down to MBTA, and that number is at 3. You can see the coaster in California, the Altamont Corridor Express, Caltrain, Metrolink, Tri-Rail in Florida, Sunrail, all of these, even Amtrak. Amtrak has a rate of 4. Do you want to know what the GB rate is? It doesn't include those in 2017, quite. Do you want to know what the GB rate is? The GB rate is 0.2. Yeah. So we do run a substantially safer railway than the US, granted. But this is a frightening. What is that? That's 1, 2, 3 orders of magnitude. 3 orders of magnitude higher rate of death. Absolutely staggering. Just breathtaking. And it's because a lot of the system looks like this. You have fast graded curves, and they've gone, well, we're not going to build a bridge. We're not going to raise the railway or build a road bridge. What we're going to do is just have them at grade. Just have them cross each other at grade. So this is staggering. So Philip Taylor is saying, yes, but the railroad was there first and they have the right of way. Technically, most states, the state or county government is responsible for grade separation, not an excuse. Yeah, Philip Taylor, the thing is, the railway is there and it's killing people. And so it's the railway's responsibility. If the railway wasn't there, it wouldn't be killing the people. So the railway's responsibility, it's the railway. We're the ones, it's the train hitting people that results in death. So these level crossings, it's just relentlessly like this. They're tight curves that the train is upon you, coming through here at speed and upon you before you'd even notice. Anyone who is familiar with the rail environment knows that approaching trains, even diesel ones, pretty much silent until they're on top of you. If you're lucky, you'll hear the rails sing. But yeah, and actually what's interesting is that in the dense built-up areas where all the people are, mostly it's grade crossings, further north, they have actually invested in some grade separation. So you can see an example of some grade separation over a kind of a small highway here. For the US, this is a small highway. You can see that this is what should be the case for more of the infrastructure, and indeed, stopping up. Actually, what the thing to do is to raise the railway up, lift the railway up, and just create urban permeability is how to resolve this. But yeah, you can see the other thing here. Absolutely no fences at play here. This is just an open railway. Anyone can walk across this railway as if it's a tram line. This is shocking. And so yeah, this is the graphic here showing where all these level crossings are, and you can see there's just enormous numbers of them. These huge numbers of these crossings, running from the airport down through Fort Lauderdale towards Miami. Grim. It's grim. There's another graphic from that article. It's a really good article. The key thing, you have a railroad crossing here. You can see the train in the background. This doesn't have barriers. It's just got lights. Actually, sorry, it's got a half barrier by the look of it. No, correct me on that. It does have barriers, but they're very flimsy. And it says no train horn. There are lots of crossings, I believe, without barriers, by the way. No train horn. Very difficult to see. And also, frequent trains. So that applies pressure on people who are wanting to get from A to B. This is one of the things that railways this is one thing the railways are, but should not be, which is that slice through urban and rural areas without permeability. When you're building a railway, you have to think about permeability across that railway. In some instances, you can achieve that with stations, but when it comes to big urban areas, the best thing you can do is put the railway under or put the railway over. In this case, with the geography you've got and the fact that this whole area is going to be underwater in about 5 to 10 years, I put the railway up, frankly. Up is the direction I would push that. So, because, and I think this is the same crossing as earlier, as you can see, this lassie here pushing a buggy with presumably a little one in it. This is an unprotected crossing, no fences, and you can just push your buggy in. A train could come around there at the drop of a hat. This is frightening, staggering, and frankly, unacceptable. And I should say, actually, that a big shout out to Miami Herald. This long read, you can Google the long read. It's really, really good. It's well worth a read through. Lots of data, lots of stuff that I've picked out from that. Just pretty harrowing. Well worth a read. Shout out to the not just the journalists, but also the supporting team who put that article together, because it's a really nice bit of journalism. It's really journalism at its finest. Very, very good. Now, some fun. Bristol. This has been sent to me by many people, which is, of course, that there is going to be an aerial transport system to link the city with Bristol Airport. Its inventor, that always worries me when I see the word invention related to anything to do with transport, because that's an enormous, gigantic, scary red flag. Its inventor said it'd be cheaper than a rail or tram link. That's another red flag, saying that something's going to be cheaper than a rail or tram link, because, of course, the point is that the getting planning permission for this thing and it going through all the lawyers and everything else is the reason this stuff is expensive, not the design of the infrastructure. And I would say putting up this structure is a very funny idea. So this is Bristol Live in 2025. Here we go again. It's also pod-based aerial. This is for aerial proposals for aerial, a pod-based aerial transport system. It's pods. It's a gadget ban, or is it? Well, I suspect it doesn't carry enough people to be a gadget ban, frankly. What's fun about this, of course, is we've been here before, because here's Bristol Live in 2020. Last time it was Tristan Cork, now it's Conor Gockerty, chief reporter for Bristol Live. Of course, when they say chief reporter, what they mean is the one person who's moderately local, because these are all Reach products, aren't they, Bristol Live? Anyway, plans for cable cars between Bristol, Temple Meads and Clifton Suspension Bridge. Here's a system of cable cars and now wait a minute, this all seems very very funny. So yeah, this is just wait a minute. Well, so what's the problem with these things? Why is it such a problem for these? Well, they're bound by all the challenges that any normal transport system would work, except that they're novel. So as well as all the planning challenges that the reason these things get bogged down, because in Britain everything's set up to deliver nothing. Also, you have a situation where there's a novel technology involved. in this case, it's less novel because this is cable cars. But the one that's this year, it's some poddy nonsense. That once again, it's some weird poddy nonsense that this is not actually real anyway. It's just someone's worked out how to do SketchUp with some and do some masking in Photoshop. It's like there's no engineering gone on here. Sorry to Rob Hudson, who is the inventor. We don't need invention, we need implementation. We've got trams. Trams are fine. Now, this thing, the 2020 plan, surely this came to something, right? Oh, sad horns. The June 2023 dissolved via voluntary strike-off. Now, I'm not one to get high mighty about keeping my company's house accounts up to date, but yeah, the Clifton Cable Company Limited, which did the last one, went kaput because obviously it did, because you're not going to build a cable car like that. Just build a tram. Just build a tram. Oh dear, but we should, of course, go through the science of understanding, what this thing actually is. So let's do that. So it's on the old Autometro sorter. It definitely doesn't carry 10,000 passengers per hour per direction. No, it's not steel wheels on steel rail. Is it suspended? Well, no, I'm not convinced it was. So the second one was suspended, but this recent one, this 2025 one, the poddy nonsense, is not suspended. It's sort of rubber tires on a railed thing. And it doesn't look like it's 10 plus people per vehicle. So as ever with a lot of this nonsense, it's just a car. It's a car. It's a car. Yeah, it's a car. So tremendous. It's not even a Gadgeban. To be a Gadgeban, it would have to carry lots of people, and this doesn't get close to that. So tremendous. Yeah. Is this anything to do with the merchant ventures or being mates with Marvin Rees? Asked JK Outdoors. Yeah. What do you think? Go on, tell me what you think of this thing. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it silly? Is it actually the best thing since sliced bread? Do tell me what you think in the chat. Another painful story, because this is sent to me, actually. This is from earlier this year, right? So this is from February this year. So this bit of the story is not fresh, but it just adds some additional painful context to the electrification woes that we're seeing in the country, and general rail investment at large. The UK government injecting nearly £1 billion £1 million, I can count, nearly £1 million to attract young talent to aviation. I'm in infrastructure project mode. Young talent to aviation here. So this is Mike Kane, MP, Minister of Aviation, Maritime and Security. Here we are. Government putting £1 million towards attracting young talent to aviation. Meanwhile, and I know about this because Noel said it in my rail life engineering theatre, rail electrification workforce has halved since 2018, study suggests. So yeah, halved since 2018. So we are shedding skills, of which many will be young people. And by the way, no new recruitment in this situation. So a sector that is hugely damaging to the environment, and as identified repeatedly by many people, Dr. Alex Chapman among them, aviation is bad for our economy as well. So all the things that this lot think aviation is good for, it isn't. It's bad for the economy. And yet, money thrown at that desperately to just create lots of young jobs for young people, whereas the railways, which is an actual real thing that delivers good economic benefits for regions and nations, towns and the like, green transport, and good real technologies, and also something that we can materially export to the rest of the world if we do cheaper and cheaper electrification that we can sell elsewhere. And yet, no, cancel that, scrap it, give up on that. So yeah, jobs for all unless you're in the rail sector. Fantastic. And just to kind of emphasise the point here, Oliver Coppard, who is the South Yorkshire Labour Mayor, getting pretty unhappy, about as unhappy as he's probably allowed to get about the fact that electrification has been canned off once more. So yeah, not good. General sense of disquiet in relation to the industry, and I hope a little bit more backbone from key people in industry to shout this out and point out how unjust, daft, and economically backwards it is to have canned off not just electrification, but all the rail investment that we've been talking about, in successive episodes. Now, a little bit of hope at the end of the news, because I wanted to say, don't tell anyone. But here's friend of the show, Rafe Smith. Actually, I can't say friend of the show because he's not been on, but Rafe, lots of very good stuff that Rafe does. A little sneaky, cheeky, useful little bit of tidbit snuck in to the devolution bill. It's a very important bill. You go back to the devolution white paper that we went through quite a few episodes ago. Mayors in England are to be given a duty to consider setting traffic reduction targets for key routes. So this is a resuscitation of the Road Traffic Reduction Act 1997. Its congestion and climate aims surely more relevant than ever, says Rafe. Another 1990s revival, indeed. So a little bit of a little bit of hope in here, just to cheer us up. You know, hope is all we can hold on to at the moment because there ain't a lot else about. Oh golly, yeah. So, and we have one more item, another item for us to consider. Something that I'm excited about, not necessarily because it's a new proposal. This is something that Burnham's actually been talking about for a very long time, or certainly a few years. But the plans are kind of growing in, let's say, the momentum locally, and it's off the back of the devolution bill that Burnham is now talking about the aspirations to send the rail network underground. Now, so what Burnham has done is put forward plans for to build a Manchester city centre underground network. It's likely this will be a mixture. It's not going to be underground, putting the Metrolink underground, although that's one of the options considered. You know, we don't know the details yet. Studies will consider this, I'm sure. Consultancies will pick the least effective but most politically astute thing that they can say to keep doing stuff. I'm cynic about consultancies these days. Who knows? Anyway, Metrolink can't deliver the capacity. It's too slow, and also the point is that it's at street level because you get on and off it from the street where stuff is. If you're going underground, you're spending that money, then you may as well go for a basically kind of converting the suburban heavy rail network, as much as that's a meaningful phrase, and sending it underground, kind of like plans that we know in Rail Natter World existed before. Now, I'm not going to say this is a reinvention of Pick Vic. Frankly, the shape of Manchester and its needs, firstly, vastly outweigh what Pick Vic was proposing, and secondly, the needs have changed. The needs of the city have changed, and so a new plan, a much more extensive and ambitious plan, needs to be thought of. And within that, by the way, Pick Vic was an underground connection that took the suburban rail network south of Manchester, which kind of congregated at Piccadilly, and the suburban transport network north of the city's core that kind of emanated out of Victoria, and provided a grade-separated junctions north and south, and a underground section that went through the core of the city, a bit like Crossrail. This is a thing that solves unending numbers of problems for cities across the world. It's a very popular way to create a much higher capacity system because you essentially unleash those. Basically what you're doing is taking the dedicated suburban lines that don't really carry a huge amount, there aren't many of those in Manchester. They're all pretty mixed traffic. But for the most part, you're taking those lower capacity cores, and where you've got the need for higher capacities because you've got multiple lines running on the track, trains battling each other on the surface lines, which everyone in Manchester knows all about, chucking them onto a high-density tunnelled core underneath, which is dedicated to those suburban trains, allows you to run many more of them. We talked about this for the Glasgow episode. You create the high-density core, then you increase capacity in all the fringes and therefore make it a viable system to carry many, many more people and get those capacities way up towards TfL levels. The point here is that if the ambition is there, and Burnham is being ambitious, and I'm pleased he's being ambitious, if the ambition is there, then we can finally have a city outside of London that has a transport system that looks like London's. Because no city, Glasgow Underground, the subway is a diminutive toy. It does great for what it does, but as we talked about before, it can be expanded. Liverpool has a bit of underground stuff. Tallinn Metro is wonderful, but it's a light metro. It isn't a full metro system. If you have a massive, large European city like Manchester, like Birmingham, like Leeds, but certainly Manchester and Birmingham as much as Glasgow, those three cities all merit a full, dedicated, major underground railway system. The whole thing doesn't have to be underground, but it's more about what's through the city centre core is underground. The opportunities are abound. I'm not worried about costs. Timelines, the timeline is where the ambition is maybe not quite where I'd like it to be. But it's about the value that creates. That's really the key thing, is the value a system like this can create. We've gone through a bit of this before in previous episodes, actually, about what Manchester needs and the challenges at Manchester. There's many more conversations to be had about what Manchester really needs and what this system would look like. And I need to do one of my stories for Mill Media, actually, on what you do in Manchester. And I think maybe this is the excuse to look at an underground network for Manchester. That could be quite fun. But more on that in the future, I'm sure. But key thing, this is ambitious. it's good. I'm glad that people are speaking in ambitious tones, because we haven't for a very long time. Leading politicians have always carried it away, shied away from talking about big, bold transport. And I'm glad that Burnham is leading the charge on this one. And that is an episode, everyone. Is this a nice tight episode tonight? Look at this, crikey. I think just want to plug Wednesday, 10th of September. Hopeton, Darlington, come to what will essentially be a live Rail Natter episode. It'd be a delight to have you along. And we talk about the future. What are we going to do for the future? I'm excited. I don't know what format this will take, actually. I'm going to try and make it very different to the format of the previous one. We shall see. And next week, we return to Australia. This is the second half of our Australia episode. We will look to the future of transport in Australia and the fact that it's quite a good... There's some good stuff going on, some good things that are exciting, some good progress, and things for us to be happy about. Oh, now, right, okay, so the chat. What's been going on in the chat? Hello, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. Does our 0.2 include trams? It includes TfL system. Yeah. So let's have a look. Raphael, this Bristol invention reminds me somewhat of the Dusseldorf Airport H-Bahn, except for the pods. Yeah, it's probably a guided bus in the flowchart. There's no guided bus in the flowchart. There's just bus. It's just bus. But no, I don't think it's a bus because the pods look tiny. Brightline's death rate is only about 2.5 times Caltrain, which is AGTM ADCAT's local. Hello, shout out AGTM ADCAT, which does a lot of work on safety. High, but will take time to come down. Yeah, there's time for these things, but yeah, there's a threshold at which you reach the tip into much greater safety, and yeah, perhaps Caltrain's still a way down from there. Yeah, yeah, Bristol, just another city that is desperately overdue actual transport system, an actual mass transit. Yeah, 3-wheeled pods. Yeah, really quite something. Yeah, let's see. Capacity was around six pods per hour. Yeah, that's just nothing. They look like they're 5 people. So that's just a hilariously... I mean, why would you spend that money and go through that political pain to create a thing that moves nobody? Just painful. H-Bahn, I can't remember much about H-Bahn. If it's a people mover for airports, often it's fine. It's basically fine. Raphael's saying it's either hope or nope. Yeah, hope. Can a metro system be built mostly elevated? Absolutely it can. Copenhagen have done quite a lot of elevated stuff, but it depends on what your urban core looks like. If you've got the space with the road systems to put it above, Chicago L style, then yeah, you can absolutely do elevated metro systems. Could Manchester upgrade their Metrolink to 3-car running? They do use basically the same vehicles. In Cologne, yes, there's Stadtbahn is the concept that you're kind of describing. Stadtbahn is a kind of a combined tram, and it goes underground, but to kind of cut and cover underground in the urban core. It's an option, it's an option for Manchester to pursue things like that. It might be that you need to do that and a dedicated suburban transit system. Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, so. Sam W., any quick thoughts on the Bletchley derailment? Does it show that switch diamonds are a liability, and what would be the alternative? No, switch diamonds not a liability at all. I don't know anything about the Bletchley derailment, though. I need to. I don't know anything about it, to be honest. I know it's happened, but I would strongly protest the switch diamonds being blamed. They're an extremely useful bit of kit, and they work absolutely fine. They are not a problem. Maintaining them is important, though. But I don't know. There's an investigation ongoing. That I'm not going to say much more on it. Bristol maybe a contender for the VLR. They're testing Coventry. No, go back to the VLR episode and you'll see. I should have said, shout out to the VLR development centre that's now gone bust. Upsettingly, frankly, I would rather it would have continued to exist. But there we go. Yeah, right. So, Gareth, what's going on? Oh yeah, tagging me. That's right. Marvellous. When the report comes out, could we get a page turn? I enjoy these slightly nerdy engineering episodes. I was going to say High Strogonaut. No. Hystronaut. Yeah, okay, of course. We can absolutely do a page turn. Which page turn? Oh, which report? Oh, the Fort William one. Yeah, sure. The detailed one. Hystronaut. You tell me which report you mean, and we'll go. We've got a bit of time. I'm doing a bit of a nice little bit of extra Q&A, which is quite nice. So. I am going to. You know what? Let's put a pin in this one, and we've had a shorter episode, but I think hopefully some interesting bits and pieces in there. Yeah. as ever. Yeah, make your suggestions, by the way. Just a reminder. Oh, the Bletchley one for the drillman. Oh, yes. We haven't done it. We haven't done one of those. You know what? There's a few bits like that. I haven't done an RAIB one for a while either. There are a few that I really want to go through. I've chosen not to go through the interim Talerthig report. I'll wait until the full report to look at that detail. But the Bletchley one, yes, a very good point. Hysteron. I'd like to read the Bletchley report. That'd be very interesting. Has it? Hopefully, RAIB are picking it up. I've not picked that up. Anyway, lots of yakking from me. It only remains for me to say thanks as ever. It's been a delight, and I will see you for the bonus episode, which I'm momentarily going to put the link up to. Yes, right. I'm going to wave vigorously. Everyone, a delight. Cheerio.